Hello, we are here for another episode of Shoebox Conversations. Today we are bringing you Debbie Korbel, a very talented assemblage artist, sculptor, um, songwriter, just creative genius. And I mean, you'll get to know her. So, and joining us is Sheli Silverio and S. Vollie Osborn. Um, Thank you all for being here, and thank you so much for joining us, Debbie. We're really, really excited to talk with you about your work.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So how are you dealing, like, as an artist and, just as an individual today, how are you dealing with, like, COVID, the pandemic and being locked down and everything that's going on today?
I've been really fine. I've still had some shows happening. I've been working, pretty much nonstop. I brought a lot of stuff home. I'm working out of my house. I can't really complain. I mean, I'm doing as well as anyone can under the circumstances, so I can't complain.
At least you're able to still be, creative and still work. And I think as artists, we just like find the space, like your kitchen table, to create.
Exactly. Sort of my whole downstairs. It keeps spreading like a fungus.
We won't tell your husband.
I know.
By the way, I love your Zoom background, one of your signature artworks.
Thank you.
Very cool. So you have a big show coming up. Tell us about your show at the Museum of Art and History in Lancaster.
I do. I'm very fortunate to have a solo show coming up at MOA. It's going to be, I'm going to have about 14 pieces of work there. And it will consist primarily of assemblage work. Some of the pieces are almost strictly assemblage. Some of them are a combination of, original sculpted elements and found objects.
Oh, cool. And the title is The Sum of Its Parts?
The Sum of the Parts.
Oh, good. One thing, I mean, I love the creativity, like, in the titles, like your other show is Strange Circus, and just, and the titles of your work too. And, it's, you really have a knack for the cohesiveness of your work, or the, the humor comes out in not just the work, but the titles too, which is really cool.
Thank you.
Well, let's go ahead and jump in and look at some of the work, and then we could talk more about titles and, style and stuff like that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with your work. Let's see. And, oops, let me see. Oh, there we go. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. There we go. No. Present. Okay. There we go. So yeah, oops, and of course it's starting at the end. Technology, it's always fun. I wanted to, I have a couple of pictures thrown in here with you and your work, because it's important to see the size, especially of like your horse pieces that we're going to talk about in a minute. But, like, tell us about you as an artist. Like, what compels you to create assemblage? What compels you to create these really quirky, edgy, funny pieces?
Well, I was thinking about, people ask, where do you find your inspiration? And I was thinking about that. And I think it's almost an involuntary response, like a sneeze or a cough. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of like how a particular individual responds to a particular set of stimuli, right? So, hopefully what I cough out, others find interesting. It's kind of like that, because it's like, I don't really think, inspiration comes from, out there through me, like I'm a vehicle for something. I don't really believe in all that woo-woo stuff, kind of. I think it's more just my individual response to something that I see, and I think I look at things kind of sideways, and that's how it comes out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, that explains it better.
Definitely. do you have like any cultural inspiration, like movies or music? Like, you know, I mean, there's a lot of really quirky shows out there and quirky music, and you know, that I could see you would, you know, maybe have an affinity to or be inspired by.
The only thing that comes to mind, like right off the bat, would be I think I'm, you know, influenced and energized by like stand-up comedy. I mean, I love that, and I feel very inspired. Like after I see somebody do a good set, you know, it's
Yeah.
fantastic. Not, more than film, maybe, or you know, other artists. I mean, I certainly look at a lot of artwork like all the time, but that kind of thing. I guess I admire the creativity and the cleverness and the, you know, being under the gun and having to come up with something like that. I mean, that's interesting to me and inspiring to me.
I like that comparison though too, because I feel like also the way that you use assemblage in your work, and kind of pull it together to find like a new humorous. The assemblage isn't always humorous, but like the way that you put these, like the pedestals in with the pieces that you have sculpted yourself, you find like a new way to assemble things that you are already existing in the world and put it together with like a witty and humorous charm. And I think that is something that I could relate to stand-up comedy too.
Thank you. It's another way of, you know, just seeing something and things, you know, if they strike me funny, I mean, I can't wait to tell somebody. Because it's more fun to laugh with somebody, right? So it's like, wait, look at this. You know?
Definitely. And you know, we need laughter, especially today.
Yeah.
That's what I love about your work, for sure.
Thank you. I mean, you know, for most of life, right? I mean,
yeah,
there's so many shitty things that happen that you got to just, you know, laughing helps you get through it, right? So it's
definitely.
To that end, Debbie, are these dogs that you know or dogs that you've invented in your head?
I do research and look at a lot of photos. So like when I did the bulldog, I would, you know, go online and pull a lot of photos and then kind of compile it into this dog. It wasn't a particular dog, and I didn't know him.
I feel like the thing you end up though, it feels like a very specific personality. Like in the two that you have here, I feel like I could imagine them as real dogs moving out of these positions and behaving in the world.
Thank you. I try to catch the gesture, you know. Well, you know what the funny thing is that the dog that I'm photographed with, Kristine, remember the photo you took?
Yep.
There happened to be a dog at a show where this was exhibited looking at this sculpture that looked just like the sculpture. It was the funniest thing ever. Too bad you don't have that photo. It was really funny.
You know, I was just thinking, I'm like, darn it, why didn't I put that? That was Kevin. That was a great photo.
Yeah. So they're out there. And I love animals, and I certainly look at them a lot, you know, and I'm sensitive to them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and we'll be looking at it in a couple minutes, but your horse sculptures, you know, I mean, you can definitely see that love coming through in your work. And then I wanted to kind of start off, this was one of your most recent solo shows, Strange Circus.
Right.
So tell us, you know, about the idea for the show, about the idea for the work in the show. Where did like the idea of circus come from?
Well, I have to say that the cart came before the horse on this one because it was sort of like I made all this stuff and then it's like, wow, there's a lot of weird characters that came out, you know. So it was like a circus, you know, a strange circus. It's really, you know, what I had created. It wasn't like I set out to, you know, make a lot of stuff that fit that theme. So that's how that unfolded.
The cool thing was at the opening, you know, we had cotton candy and it was just, and peanuts, and, you know, it was just a really fun time.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun there too. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I have a couple of images of like closer up, you know, some of the work closer up. One of my favorite pieces, and I you know, I don't want to I hate to, have a favorite, but is of course Frankenstein. Tell us about that piece.
Well, I always kind of think that that's like a self-portrait.
Oh, I don't know if you've ever said that before.
Because, we all kind of feel like this ugly monster, at times, we kind of have that self-loathing, but, but then again, it's like a lovable, sweet, it's kind
Yes. Who wants to give his heart out,
Yes, yes.
Yeah. No, it's such a fantastic piece.
Thank you.
Are those moose antlers in the?
They are. Now that was one where the pieces that I found inspired the work, right? I found the moose antlers, and I knew I wanted to do wings. I wasn't sure exactly what, and then I was going to do a butterfly, but the moose antlers was too masculine to do a feminine butterfly, so that's why I ended up with the male butterfly.
I love in the shadows, the way the light plays on the shadows. And what else do you use? What else did you use as part of the assemblage in that work?
There's like car parts, smashed up metal car parts. There's part of a wine caddy. There's part of a rake.
Oh yeah, I see that.
There's some miscellaneous wrought iron parts that I'm not sure what they're from because I find them in pieces. Wood, glass, copper wire. I'm trying to remember what else I put in there. I think that's. Oh, there's something like from a radiator that I used also.
Oh, okay. I love how, you just find things and see art within, with them. I mean, you're like, oh, whether you collect it or you're going to use it later, I love assemblage artists just because they have that knack. I don't think I could do that.
Well, give it a go.
Oh, let's see. And then, of course, I'm showing one of your horses here, and then the clowns, which I love. But I have a couple of other horses, but I wanted to show this one since it was in Strange Circus.
Okay.
So I know, of course, the clowns, are just, it's a powerful representation. Tell us how they came about.
I wanted to, I don't know where the idea for the clowns exactly came into my head, but I wanted to show something passionate, and I wanted to do something with a gay theme, and to show something beautiful, but also to show, that like by having the costumes and the masks, so to speak, that's an external thing, but then the internal thing is you see the love and the passion and the emotion, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things.
I'm sorry?
I was to say, those are the kinds of things that were going in my head when I was making this.
Yeah. There's a lot of representations of, the LGBTQ community, which, is just lovely in a lot of your work. The piece, on Zoom behind you, which is in the show also. I don't know if I have a close-up of it or not, but definitely. And then, this horse, which is beautiful. And the picture doesn't do it justice. You have to see it in person because of all the little hidden things, the bell. I forgot about the bell until just now. But just how you're able to find, use the materials, I think, what is the jaw? Is it a shark?
It's actually out of no, the blue is resin. It's broken pieces of resin. I stacked them and broke them into the shapes that I needed to use. And the shoulder blade is actually a buffalo jawbone.
Okay.
And then there's, wood and plumbing parts and copper. There's also a longhorn steer. I think there's 2 of those horns in that piece. I just look at things, for the shapes and the texture.
Yeah. So you kind of see the sculpture, or you see the object, and envision where it would fit on the sculpture?
Initially, when I collect this stuff, I just look for organic shapes. I know that I don't really like hard geometrical shapes because I don't see us built that way. Maybe those shapes are in there, but I see us, as rounded shapes. So that's the kind of stuff that I collect.
And that makes sense for sure. And I think you've said you used to have horses and ride all the time?
My daughter used to ride. We didn't own any, thank God, but it was enough, the riding lessons and everything. But
where did your love of horses come from?
Well, I think my first crush was a horse, when I was little, I used to read all those horse books, Son of Misty, Misty here, Misty there, I was like, read all that stuff. And I always thought they were beautiful. I'm a little afraid of them, in person, I have to say, but they're really beautiful because they could just like even be randomly, shaking their head or something and knock you over,
Yeah.
So big. I've had one step on me. My daughter's had to bite her, they're not malicious, but they're just so big.
Yeah, but they are majestic. They're
not that
beautiful.
hard to get hurt. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing more beautiful than seeing them run.
Yeah, yes.
I mean,
And you bring that out.
The pinnacle of beauty, really.
Yeah, and you bring that out in your work, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then here's a couple of other pieces that were in the Strange Circus show. So yeah, I love how you include text on a lot of your work. How did that come about?
Well, I do a lot of writing, and I've always written poetry, and I've written short stories and screenplays, and I did a little writing for TV, and so it's always kind of simmering in there. The piece on my left, Happiness is a Warm Gun, is from an old Beatle lyric off the White Album. I don't know if you guys are old enough to know about that, but
Yeah.
that's what it's from. I've just kind of always thought that was funny. So that's what, it kind of inspired that.
These characters, they look like stand-up comedians too. I mean, you've said that.
Yeah, they could be.
Yeah. I mean, I could totally see you even doing some type of illustrated book featuring these characters that you've created as sculpture.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Something.
I really like that you've taken the panda, which has become like a symbol worldwide of endangered species, and just had him ripping a cigarette.
Yes. This is off hours.
Yep. And then, of course, I couldn't remember if I was going to share this or not, but this is one of your more recent works. I had invited you to be part of Perceive Me, and based on like seeing the sculpture on the left in your studio, which I adore, tell us about the sculpture. Like, what does she represent?
The Perceive Me?
No, the other one.
That's an earlier work I did quite a while ago, and I just wanted to show the beauty of someone who's heavier, being represented in a beautiful way, and also kind of at peace with themselves, right? They're meditating, they're calm, they're feeling, everything's in alignment.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And, I mean, for Perceive Me, of course, I was blown away. I invited you to be in the show, and you sent, I think, emails, and in our studio visits, you're like, this is what I'm thinking. And then all of a sudden I go to the studio visit, and there's this larger than life me. And, I mean, what I love about you is you take an idea and just run with it and keep running, and you push like limits, and you push your own, like, you challenge yourself and your own creativity and your own, like, even, I mean, this is larger than you.
Yes, it is. I worked really hard on that.
I mean, that's, I mean, the wings, the assemblage, and of course on the back of it, it's good enough. Wait, oh my gosh.
Good as hell. Good as hell.
Good as hell, yes, thank you. And January was a long time ago.
I know.
From Lizzo, I mean, but it just shows like, how strong and powerful you are as an artist, and and talented. It's just amazing. You're welcome.
I'm glad you were happy with it.
Definitely. And I love these two images together too. Just another example of how you use assemblage and the meaning, and the emotion and the psychology behind your figures. And another one I wanted to show with you so people can get a sense of the size. And where did these figures come from?
I wanted to do kind of a Day of the Dead type of a sculpture. So that's the Jesus figure it's on my right on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
And they often use like a lot of interesting colors and kind of bright colors in what they tend to use as the artwork for that event. So that was the thinking behind this one. And then the one on the left, I think I saw a picture actually of a girl kind of like doing like a flirty, closing her eye, kind of winking thing. So I wanted to do that. And it's kind of like a family joke also, because sometimes when I get nervous, I wink at people and it's not the right thing to do. So my family just cracks up and loses it, so it's
oh, funny.
So it kind of has a little subtext, familial subtext under there. So anyway, they got a kick out of that.
Well, I love the hair.
Thank you.
Yeah, the assemblage, like that hair piece. Really
Thank you. That piece, the one that it looks like wired, kind of looped in like a bow. I had been saving that because I knew I wanted to use it as a headpiece on something. I just didn't know what. But then the opportunity came.
It worked out perfect.
Yeah.
How did you, like this one and the male butterfly, like how did you come up with a stand for these pieces?
I have to design an armature and then go to a welder, have it, made, have it, and then that's how that's done. So you have to do some planning in advance, which is unlike me, but I'm forced to.
Sometimes, it has to be done. If you have that idea in mind, and you have to figure out how to do it.
I don't like to plan stuff out, when I'm working on it, but with the bigger pieces, you have to plan a little bit, at least to have some kind of elemental structure underneath.
Yeah.
So.
Oops. No, that's not what I wanted. Why are you going? Oops, hold on. Let's see where. Oh, there we go. Okay. Technology. Another one of your horses, I wanted to show the size, with you next to it, so people just have an idea of, the immensity of the work that you do. And I mean, we've kind of talked about it. When you just have an idea, you run with it. And, I always love going bigger, and pushing artists to go bigger. So, that you were already doing this. Did you just like already know you had to create, a horse, or you've created a few, of the horses that are large scale?
I knew I wanted to do something bigger. I like to work bigger too when I can. It is more impressive, and I think it's more effective in getting your general idea across than making some little thing that looks like a toy. So I always get very annoyed if it's too small. It turns out looking like a toy. So this definitely won't look like that. And also the type of pieces that I find to use are bigger pieces, and I'd have to like cut them up into 20 little pieces each thing, and it wouldn't necessarily read as well. I use saws and the thing on top is like snow chains, and
Okay.
the things that I find in the junkyards are bigger.
Yeah.
They don't really lend themselves to, little miniatures. I mean, I guess if you wanted to work with, twigs and toothpicks and things, you could make something small.
Yeah. I almost, every time I see this piece, I feel like it's interactive. I feel like the balls inside are going to move around, that may be something you have to do next.
I know.
I mean, just something fun, I mean, of course, you don't have to, but and then a couple of your other horses, that are just gorgeous.
Thank you.
You could see the majesty in the work, on top of, I mean, in relation to real horses. I love the one on the right. You seem to use more like wire pieces. Have you ever, like, besides this piece, or was that on purpose where you just wanted to focus using like one type of material? Or like,
I came across, a few different spools of electrical wire. I thought I'd never seen anything like that. I thought it'd be fun to try it. So that's where I went. And also, I like the bright colors of the wire, and I didn't usually work. The pieces I find, the metal stuff, it's not bright. I have to paint it if I want to add color to it. And these were already colored, so I thought, it'd be fun to try. I'd like to, mess around with different materials and see what happens. It's not always a winner, I mean, but, we give it a go.
That's what you just need to keep making, bad art or experimenting, and, the ideas and the good art will come. That's why we just perseverance. We have to keep working, right?
Yeah.
And then getting to your last couple of slides here, the Rhino is one of your newer pieces. Tell us about, where the idea for your Rhino. I know you've done one similar in the past, but why did you create
actually the first one that I did, and the latest one is a little different, the patina on it. I got the idea, I'm sure I was reading an article about how these rhinos are going extinct, and it was right before, like, the last one. I think it was one of the black rhinos or the white rhino, I can't remember which one. There was only like one left, and it finally died. It was just horrible, and it just I don't know, inspired me to. This one is called Save Me, and it actually has Save Me written on the side. It's a little hard to see there, but
I think I have. Oh no, I thought I had another detail of it, but yeah, you can see it here.
What's the process for making a piece like this, Debbie?
So this is sculpted out of clay, and then when it's completely finished with that, then I have a mold made, and then it's cast either in bronze or resin or whatever else you want to put it in. This one is cast in resin, and then I paint it and seal it, and the painting goes on in layers. So that's a whole thing in itself. So
wow.
Very cool.
And was Bosco created the same way? The dog at the beginning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I hope you can't hear that. And then the last slide that I wanted to show, one of your very recent works. This is COVID, of course. I don't want to say inspired by COVID, but tell us about COVID.
Well, I just wanted to try some other materials, and since I'm working at home, I haven't really been working in clay at home if it's a kind of a big mess. So I have been doing other types of work at home. I've been doing painting. This is actually made out of cardboard. I've never made anything out of cardboard before, and I thought it would be fun to try. And also because the crow, I wanted to do crow because, the pun on the name.
Yeah.
And also because the crow is also a symbol of, it can be a symbol of death and like really bad things, but it can also be a symbol of, life and on the other end of the spectrum. So I thought, all those things played into it. And plus, birds are cool.
I don't remember where it's from, probably England, but there's the saying that one crow on its own is a sign of good luck, and a group of crows is an omen of bad things to come.
Uh-oh.
Well, I guess that makes sense. Aren't they called a murder of crows? Isn't that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, who needs that?
Exactly. What I love about this work too is you can't tell it's cardboard. You know, the patina, you know, the way you create the work and cut out the, you know, the individual parts of the wing and the beak and, you know, all of it, you really change the dynamic of the materials that you use.
Thank you. I had fun. Most of it's actually just torn. I just tore stuff into a bunch of pieces. And the only part I think that I cut was the beak, because that has a more fine edge on it. But I think everything was just torn.
Yeah.
And then just put together.
Cool. I think, yep, that is our last slide. So let me see. Oh, let me stop sharing here and go back to all of us. So besides COVID, besides the Rhino that you've been working on while at home, you've also been songwriting and, you know, doing music that you've been sharing on Facebook and Instagram. And where did that like happen because of COVID? Or I know it's something you've thought about doing, but COVID helped you?
Well, actually, I met my songwriting partner at a UCLA extension class that I took in songwriting and producing and all these kinds of things. And we partnered up and we've been writing songs. And just during the pandemic, I've had time to make these little videos and create a YouTube channel, PD Songwriting, if anybody wants to look.
We'll share the links, don't worry.
Thank you. And it's really fun, and it's a way for me to utilize my writing. And also I participate a lot in the actual construction of the song, so I've been learning a lot, so that's really fun. And, my partner has a studio at home, and we've been working on Zoom now, but normally we work together. So I'm learning a lot of other things, so it's been really fun.
And we don't want to give too much away, but the songs are just as fun as your artwork.
Oh, thank you.
They're the titles, no, they're totally you.
Thank you. Well, the last one's kind of appropriate for the pandemic, so.
Definitely. So are you working on anything brand new in the studio that we haven't seen, or do you have an idea of new work besides the songwriting and music, new sculptures, assemblage?
I do have an idea for some different materials. I'm not going to divulge it yet. In case it's a big flop, I can just pretend like it never happens. I'll show you once I get going on it, if it looks like it's going to succeed. And if not, I just won't ever discuss it again.
Good plan.
There we go. Awesome. Well, it's been so great talking to you, Debbie, looking at your work, getting to know your work and you a little bit more. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was really fun.
I hit the wrong button. Yeah, and you know, look for Shoebox Conversations next time, and have a great week.
Thank you. Bye.